Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Be It Till You See It interview recap, where my co-host in life, Brad, and I are going to dig into the incredibly thoughtful conversation I had with Susanne Puerschel in our last episode. If you haven't yet listened to that interview, feel free to pause this now, go back and listen to that one, and then come back and join us, or do whatever you want to do. You want to listen to this one first and then go back?
You do you.
Fine. You do you. And then let me know which order you listen to these episodes in. Do you go recap and then the interview, or interview then recap? We inquiring minds want to know.
Inquiring minds.
I always wanted to say that. Anyways, here's the deal, y'all. Okay, I'm super freaking stoked. As of right now, as of this moment, the Reformer flashcard deck is out. And
yeah, it is.
Babe, if you're like, what is a Reformer deck of flashcards? First of all, if you don't know what a Reformer is, it's totally fine. But this is our second deck in a series of decks of flashcards. And the matte deck was the first one we released.
Yes.
It took us a year to get that one into people, like more than a year to get that into people's hands. And there was a lot of reasons for that. And then the Reformer deck, we had a turnaround time of like 3 weeks. I couldn't believe we did it.
It was pretty bananas.
And we did. It was bananas. But I'm really... Also,
too, what was quite lovely is this time we actually had a team. On the matte deck, it was just Lesley and me. And this time we were able to distribute the workload. So we were finally able to make it. That's why we were able to make it go really fast.
I do want to give credit to the person who made sure the Oxford commas made it into the matte deck. Thank you, girl. We hope you're listening. But now we have the Reformer deck of flashcards.
That would be Pilates bound.
Yes.
Pilates bound.
Pilates bound.
And her Oxford commas. Yes.
She made us do that. So anyways, we've had the matte deck out. It is awesome. And you can get that. But the Reformer deck, for those of you who love the Reformer, want to know more about the Reformer, it is now available. So get yours by going to onlinepilatesclasses.com. You will see it. Don't worry. You can't miss these flashcards. We are very much making sure you can find them.
Yeah, they're on the site, the website for sure. But if they don't know what these even are, what are they?
Well, I just happen to have a deck of the matte ones, and if you're watching this on YouTube, I just showed them. If you're listening, I just showed them the people on the YouTube.
On the tube of views here. So what this actually looks like is you have a deck of cards here.
Kind of think of like for my girls out there who know tarot. This is like a box.
Right.
It's a fancy box, like an apple box.
Nothing in any way, shape, or form to do with tarot, except for there are cards, and that's the only similarity. So the flashcards, you get to actually look at the front of them, guess what the exercise is, and on the back, it has a whole description and all the things. There's a really fancy QR code on the front, like, all these restaurants we get to go to now and pull up those digital menus. Same exact thing. And then the point of it is to be able to learn how to do Pilates from these cards, B, take it with you and be able to actually do, pull 5 cards and do 5 exercises if you're somewhere, whatever it is. And so the matte deck has been really exciting. We've had a lot of people taking these amazing photos and videos and posting them to Instagram. And now the Reformer deck is out. Yeah,
I actually just got pictures from someone who went on a vacation, and she said, I was tech free, but I took my matte deck of cards with me, and she did them on her trip. And so anyways, you can get the matte deck and the Reformer deck now on onlinepilatesclasses.com, where we do life better. Okay, I'm just so excited about that. Anyways.
Yeah, but first, before we jump into this interview, Lesley, we had an audience question to respond to, yeah?
We did, and I don't don't know who wanted to know this because I think the answer is probably obvious. Who does the cooking?
Who does the cooking? Well, on rare occasions, when the workload is maxed to the absolute, I will ask Lesley to do the cooking.
Yes. And when he says, the workload is to a max, it also means that Postmates is also out of the question. We've missed the window to get a Postmates to deliver to us. And, so I am very good at cooking in one pan. I have a couple good dishes, I will say, and he's always really impressed. He's like,
I'm always super shocked when she's like, and I did all this in one pan because I used to work in food. So for 13 years, I worked in restaurants. I was always front of house, but I was always around the cooks and the chefs and all the other people that were like doing the meal prep and plannings and all this stuff, right? When you cook for 200 people, you prepare everything hours before the dinner shift starts. You have your pile of peppers you already cut. You got your onions already cut. You got this. Everything is ready. They're in their beautiful, nice little fancy little dishes and boxes and like you're ready to go, right? And then when the rush comes, you can just grab your ingredients because you got them all available, right? So when I cook, I literally do that. Okay. I literally cut everything, prep everything. I've got all these nice little bowls. And then when I go to throw it in the pan, I can grab the bowl, toss my ingredients in. It looks like I'm doing a cooking show because I like it.
Okay. And you know what? But I'm sure there's people in either heads going, yeah, LL, of course that's how you do it. Let me just explain something. There are two of us. Prior to moving to Las Vegas, we did not have a dishwasher.
And that's true.
We had a sink that was barely big enough for the dishes from the day to go into. And, you know, whoever does the cooking doesn't do the cleaning. I don't know whose household made that rule up, but it felt like it became the rule at our house. And it was just like there's two of us and there's 17 bowls and I don't know what to do with all these bowls. So anyways, when I would have to cook at our old apartment, I knew how he made the vegetables and I would just chop them all up and this is what I did. So Brussels sprouts take a little longer than carrots, then broccoli, then some mushrooms, right? So I would chop the Brussels sprouts up first, toss them into the pan. Then I would chop the carrots, toss them into the pan. And the pan's cooking. And so I'm just tossing everything in. And by the time the mushrooms got in, everything's pretty much ready.
It's a good strategy.
It's a great strategy. And guess what? One pan, no bowls. And I got really resentful, to be honest, because his dishes workload was third what mine was. Anyways, now that we're in Vegas, I will be honest, we have actually gotten off the bandwagon of the cooking.
Yeah, I cook relatively infrequently now. Just things have definitely been busier, which I do find ironic. You know, since we work like 10 feet from where we sleep, like 10 feet from where we cook. So
instead of 1 foot. So y'all, that's bigger.
Yes. But anyway, yes, now it's been, we're only cooking a few nights a week at best, just because life is busy and crazy.
But he makes a mean carrot soup, y'all. So good.
Yeah.
And his air fried wings.
Takes a couple hours to do.
Yeah, that's a bit much. His air fried wings, so good. And then we always have sweet potato fries because they're my favorite. Anyways, thank you for that question.
Great question.
And I hope it's mostly Brad, but sometimes it's me. And most of the time it is the sushi guy down the street. So if you would like to know more about us, just DM me a question you'd like us to answer. You can DM me at beitpod on Instagram.
I think there are underscores in there somewhere.
There are, but if you just type in beitpod, we come up. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry. It's not complicated. Okay. So here's the deal. I am so into you making yourself a priority. It's really important to me that you know that when you do Pilates, like I do Pilates every day, it is the way that you can make yourself a priority. I know it sounds crazy. It's like, how does that possible? That seems like it's my workout. It is. But it is also a mind-body connection. And so to convince you a little bit that Pilates can be the way that you prioritize yourself, the way I prioritize myself, I want you to go get a free class from me at onlinepilatesclasses.com/beit. That's onlinepilatesclasses.com/BEIT.
Okay, now let's talk about Susanne Puerschel.
I mean, I just feel like we should just replay the whole interview.
I mean, it was an incredibly powerful interview. She is a force to be reckoned with, and so soft-spoken, but like really profound. If you have not listened to that episode, you have to go do that. A little bit about Susanne. She grew up in the ballet in Germany in a really young age. I think she was like living with her coaches and stuff. And by the time she was 18, she was a professional ballet dancer, which is, obviously she is incredible. She moved to the States after that. She started her own dance company after working at another company I'm sure it was in New York. And then she started a family. She then got out. They stopped their dance company and she started working in corporate. She climbed the corporate ladder, and together she and her husband started a 7-figure business. And then they shut down that 7-figure business. And that was obviously really challenging. And then along the way, she has continuously been rediscovering herself and figuring out more about her, to the point where she is now today doing what she was meant to be doing the whole time. So interesting to know that she did all those amazing things, and now today she's really doing what she wanted, which is she's building a program that inspires young ballet dancers who have her experience, and she's coaching them. Yeah. And it's really great. It's so needed in the industry, so needed in the space. And I have no doubt that what she's doing is going to change that entire industry.
I follow her Instagram, her Point to Rise Instagram, and
say it again.
Point to Rise. It's point with an E.
Yeah. Point
to Rise. It's every time I see a post, first of all, every one of her posts somehow exudes the same space and grace. Like, I feel like a bull in a china shop to her, like, ease. But her posts are very thought-provoking, but also she's taking a look at her industry, like you said, and really changing it, because there's no reason why these dancers have to punish their bodies the way that they had in the past to have the success they want to have. And I feel
not just their bodies, but also their minds. Yeah. Like, they beat themselves up.
Well, 100%. And I think, and to all my dancers listening, I know you're out there. I love you. I want you to check her out. But I think, like, even if you're not a dancer, that would be me. It's depending on how you were raised and where you grew up. Some of those things, even if you weren't in a dancing world, you were told too. And it's, sure. So everyone will benefit from checking that out. But you're right. I honestly, when we did this recap, I'm like, should we just like replay? Because there's so many good things to say.
I listened back to it, and I literally pulled out like 10, like 30 to 40 second, like one-liners that was like, wow, this is worth talking about. Wow, that's worth talking about. I mean, it was just really awesome. So you have to go back and listen.
I feel like I should, just so you know the process, I interview everyone, and then Brad listens to everything, and he like takes the notes and and it should be like, you know, the length of the interview plus or minus a few more minutes, right? Because it's like, whatever. It's a recap, and he's like taking notes. 2 hours later, he comes out, and I was like, oh, how are the recaps going? Like, are you ready to do a couple? And he's like, I'm still on Suzanne's. Everything. It's all so good. So I like Brad. I agree. It's also good. And I had a really hard time picking out one thing, but I feel like I had to pick out this one, which is, I love that she said you have to make yourself a priority. And I also, and the reason is because I think a lot of people feel guilty when they make themselves a priority, especially people with children. I feel like all of my friends with kids, like their priority is their children. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but I do think that like I can't imagine that you don't get a little resentful of how much you pour into someone else because they're not going to reciprocate that when they're young. Maybe when you're older and you like need them to reciprocate and they take care of you. So I really loved how much she talked about making yourself the priority. that, I mean, she couldn't have like made the Be It Till You See It podcast more explanatory like this. When she talks about, she's like, you have to be what you want to be. And I'm like, yes, you do. And I'm like, you should just come on every week.
Yeah. She talked a lot about the beauty, that we individually have.
Yeah.
And just the way that she said it was like, wow, really revelatory. And I really appreciated how she sees other people, because I thought, here's someone who is an incredibly observant person, obviously. And, like the fact that it took her that long to observe herself.
Yeah.
Is, I feel like it's normal. I feel like, unfortunately, it's just the way that we are as people.
Yeah.
We have hearts of servitude. And so we end up putting ourselves last. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be serving people. That's not my point. My point is we never make time for ourselves. And so when we never make time for ourselves, at the end of the day, we're just exhausted, or it builds resentment, or, you feel like people don't appreciate you or whatever. And I think that, the way that Susanne was talking about it, finally now she said, I'm in my 40s. It took me to be in my 40s to go do the thing that I really wanted to go do.
And I say this a lot when I coach people in their business. I say, you're the only person who can do what you do the way that you do it. You're it, right? And even if you're not a business person, business owner, you don't have to be. You are the only you. And the reality is like what you're here on this planet to do, who you are as a person. It's so freaking awesome. And she says, when you realize how much of a beautiful and worthy soul you are, you will put out what is important to you before pleasing someone else. And that's the thing, right? If you don't realize that, if you don't show up as yourself 100%, then the people that you're here, the people around you in your life, they're not going to get all of you. And then it's a trickle down effect, right? Everyone's getting half the energy of something. They're getting, and so it's just, if you make yourself a priority, you have more energy, you have more time, the people around you are transformed and affected, the people that you're raising, or the people that you're partners with, all of that, it affects everyone. And so I just wish we all would just go, I'm a little selfish, I'm be first. And then, so anyways, couldn't love that more. Did you love that she said?
I think so. I was thinking about this a lot because, like I said, there were so many things. I actually think that what blew my mind was how vulnerable she was across the board. So, I'm not kidding. I almost cried listening to her interview because she is just so like, what's the right way to describe it? She's very soft, right? But when she speaks, you listen to what she has to say. Like she's clearly not the person who has to raise her voice to get across her what she needs to say. But through the interview, she shared some incredibly dark moments that she has experienced. And I just hurt for her, thinking like, wow, because she's obviously a sensitive being. Yeah. And, she said that she had to hit rock bottom 3 times before finally being willing to put herself first and go do the thing that she wanted to do.
So if you're not watching this, Brad is getting a little teary-eyed on that. But I think what I love that she said about that is many people wouldn't share that they hit rock bottom 3 times.
Sure. No, I mean, who wants to look bad?
Right. Like, oh my God, she had to do it again. Like, you know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of people who are like, why can't I learn this lesson? Why does this keep happening? And
look, one of those things was losing a 7-figure business.
Yeah.
That is devastating.
Yeah. And I think the question isn't, why is this happening to me? It's like, what is this teaching me? And she discovered that on her journey. And you're right. When she makes me think, I have this yoga teacher in LA that he would start the class just by sitting there and not talking. And then everyone would get quiet.
Yeah.
And then he would start talking. And I remember going, gosh, what an epic presence that is, because I would go into my class and like, let's go. And like, you're like yelling, like, why is no one listening?
Waving your hands, throwing things like,
and like the peace and confidence and I don't know if it's confidence, but just the like, she is where she is at. Like she's so present. And I think that is powerful. So yeah, her vulnerability was awe-inspiring.
All right. Well, why don't we talk about some of the beit action items that were in there? I mean, like I said, there were so many, but what bold, executable, intrinsic, or targeted action items can we take away from the conversation that you had with her? I'm going to jump in first here. Mine was taking a moment. So she talked about in the flow, in her life, in her journey of life, right? She went into being a ballet dancer and in a really young age, and was following what people told her to do for her whole, like early years. And then she got out of it and didn't know what to do. And so she was really frustrated, but she knew she wanted to leave Germany and come to the United States. And she made this big leap and she moves to the United States. And then she gets right back into another troupe in the United States. And so she's again following, right? And then she leaves that and she starts her own, and then she leaves that and she joins this corporate ladder situation, and she does that for 10 solid years, and then finally she starts asking the question, or looking at it and going like, am I just repeating everything that I've already been doing over and over again? Like all the same mistakes, all the same successes. Like, is this the same story? It's just 4 different ways that it's the same story. Yeah. And I really feel like it was after leaving the corporate world that she and her husband, when they started their entrepreneurial venture, that's like the beginning of when you go like, what am I doing? What am I doing here? like actually taking a moment and being like, okay, is there a better way? Like, how do I do this? Like asking questions.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad you pointed that out as a great action step, because I think a lot of people wouldn't see a pause as an action step. They would, right? And it really is. And I know myself, like I went from my retail job right into managing studios. I didn't even take the beat. And so if I had taken the beat, I might have discovered that I don't like managing people.
Right.
And I mean, then we wouldn't be here. So obviously everything happens the way it's supposed to. But since that lesson, when different things have happened, I have really tried to do a lot of reflection. Like, what did I like about that? What didn't I like about that before I start something new? And you and I do this a lot. And so I think if you're going through anything, when you transition, take a pause, just a moment.
Yeah.
And reflect on that. So
I think the most obvious one is like dating.
Oh yeah.
Where you have a relationship and it doesn't go the way you hope. And then, what happens generally, you jump into another relationship and it doesn't go the way you hope. And then you jump into another relationship, right? So it's consistent. If you took a step back, if you took a moment, took a step back and you looked at those relationships, aside from the fact that you're the common denominator, sorry, hard truth. The other thing is, I bet you there are similarities in A, the type of person you were dating, B, the fights that you had, C, the reasons that it ended. I would imagine that there are consistencies there. And if you actually take a step back and you look at that, maybe you'll see, what if we did things differently?
Yeah. We're not speaking from experience or anything.
No, of course not. Of course not.
So I just want to say, side note, if you want to know about the conversation Brad and I had when he broke up with me the first time before we dated.
Somebody better ask the question.
Yeah.
Just ask us in a DM.
Just ask in a DM if you want to know what I said to Brad after he dumped me the first time before we started dating.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. What about you?
Well, okay. Of course, I can't have one. I have to have two. I mean, I think we've discovered that these recaps are another interview. So I loved, my biggest takeaway from her beit actions is ask yourself if there's another way, and choosing your own beliefs. And here's why I love this. So there's a lot of things that people say, this is how it has to be. And just by asking yourself if there's another way. When I wanted to move to Vegas, everyone's like, oh, it takes 30 days at least. It does this. And I was like, I am moving on June 1st. We're moving June 1st. What are the other ways?
She literally announced June 1st. And I was like, that's in 9 days.
And I said, we're doing it. And it was a little tricky because we had not actually found the house yet. But I was like, no, we're moving June 1st. There has to be another way. And so contrary to everyone telling me you're probably looking at July, I was like, let's just see if there's another possibility. And dream house, everything landed on us because I was open to another way, another possibility of doing things than the way people expected. So of course I love that. And so whatever you're doing in your life, if you're coming up against roadblocks, just ask yourself if there's a left turn you can make to get to the same place, right?
Yeah, I think also too in her context, what she was talking about really was about the way that you were raised.
Yeah.
And the belief system that was instilled in you by your community, your family, your parents, your, whatever, and I think that we approach situations with assumptions, and, that's normal. There's nothing wrong with that, but, by being completely locked into that set of beliefs, it can really change the way you experience life. And I think that really was what she said was when she realized that she was stuck on it in her own mind. That was when, and then she decided to shed those beliefs. That was when things really started to change in her own life.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I think when people say, I'm just so busy, or I can't do that because I have this, or I can't do that because I have this, or I was raised with a different kind of money mindset than Brad. And so we all came into different things. And when she talked about how she can choose who she wants to be, and she can choose that, she can choose all the things. Freedom is I also think ease, and it's a little uncertain because now that's not the loop, that's not the story, because you've just told yourself a new one.
Sure.
But if you can actually go, is there another way to this thing? And then believing that is possible without the evidence, or without going to the people around you who are going to repeat the old story, or going to repeat the way that you should be doing it. Oh, you're going to find so much possibility in that. And it means boundaries. Probably a lot of people have a hard time with that, or maybe not sharing some things with some family members who want you to do things the way that's always been done.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean it's forever, just so you know. So I think it's really, I hope that if you're listening to this and that takeaway really spoke to you, give it a try and let us know how it goes. Let Susanne know how it went, because what I have seen her do in choosing another way and choosing a new belief system for herself, I mean, it's really exciting. It's awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
Awe-inspiring. So,
well, before we're going to wrap this up here, but before we go, I just wanted to give you a little bit more on what Susanne is doing right now. Her podcast and her company are Point to Rise. That's Pointe. You can find her on Instagram at that handle. They're specifically dedicated to other dancers whose entire identity is wrapped up in ballet. She coaches these dancers through the extreme anxiety, healthy competition, body imagery, identity crises, all of that stuff that happens when you are like as a child ballet dancer and like your childhood gets taken away from you and you're thrust on the stage in front of tons of people. She's literally been through it, and she's so passionate about helping others skip the rock bottoms that she experienced after the fact. So to find out more, you can go to point2rise.com, POINTE, to rise, RSE.com. And
also for you athletes out there, I think it's very similar. I think it's all.
Yeah, it's not just ballet.
Yes, she's gonna use words about dancers, but like if you've dedicated your life to learning something,
gymnastics, I'm sure, is the same story.
And then, at some point you age out of that,
Yep.
or you injure out of that. All the stuff that she talks about has so many helpful tips for you. So please check it out.
Yeah.
All right. I'm Lesley Logan.
And I'm Brad Crowell.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so grateful you're here. How are you going to use these tips in your life? We're very curious, and I'm just actually quite nosy. So here's what I want you to do. You're going to screenshot your favorite episode tips. You're going to post it on your Instagram. You can post it in stories or on your feed. Tag us at beit.pod. Of course, there's some underscores in there. Instagram will tell you, and tag Susanne Puerschel at Point to Rise and let us know what your favorite takeaways were, which ones you're going to use. We love it. We'll share it on ours. And until then, we'll catch you on the next episode, and be it till you see it.
Bye.
That's all I got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Be It Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day. Be It Till You See It is a production of As the Crows Fly Media.
It's written, produced, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Crowell.
Kevin and Belle at Disenyo handle all of our audio editing and some social media content.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Cioffi.
Special thanks to our designer Jaira Mondal for creating all of our visuals, which you can't see because this is a podcast, and our digital producer Jay Pedroso for editing all the video each week so you can.
And to Meredith Crowell for keeping us all on point and on time.